Welcome back, class. I'm Mr. Betts, and I know a lot of you have a World War II test coming up. There's a lot of figures that you gotta know, so we have to figure out a way to keep track of them, but we have to answer the really hard question. Who was the hottest? We're gonna go over 10 figures that you're gonna need to know for your World War II test, and I also found a website called Anaface, and in it, you can upload someone's pictures, you move these dots around, and it will tell you numerically and scientifically, I'm guessing, just how hot that person was. First up, Benito Mussolini. Upload Mussolini. Okay, loading image. Okay, let's see. First, let's move him around over in here. He was the leader of Italy, part of the Axis powers. He was the Italian portion of that. He formed the fascist movement, also known as the Black Shirts, fascist or fashionable. Which came into power in 1922. He was known as Il Duce, or the leader, took over Libya and Somalia, Ethiopia and Albania. And while he was really successful there, it kind of left his forces a little exhausted, and Hitler pretty much had to prop him up for most of the war. I got your ear over here, lips, middle, and chin. I'm gonna pick this chin. Mussolini, how hot are you? Oh, wow, Mussolini at an 8.32 out of 10. Yet his face still has poor horizontal symmetry, his ears are too long for his nose, his inocular distance is too big for his eyes, and he's still at 8.32. His face is too wide or too short. So who's next? Charles de Gaulle. Oh yes, this man looks completely like Peter Sellers. So what do you need to know about Charles de Gaulle? Charles de Gaulle, anything in French, you just go de Gaulle. He was a World War I hero. By the time World War II broke out, he was the Undersecretary for Defense and War in France. When the Nazis took over, you had the Vichy government, kind of the puppet government installed into France. Wow, these ears really jet out here. If they don't say something about the ears, then it's over. He refused to pledge loyalty to them, and instead he fled to England, where he led forces in exile and French colonial forces in the fight against the Nazis. Honestly, I don't have high hopes for de Gaulle, but de Gaulle, how hot are you? Ooh, 7.26. Ears are too long for the nose, which is saying a lot with that nose. His nose is too wide for his mouth. Yes, he has a tiny little mouth. Has to take little bites. You have once again been exiled out of the hot table. Next is Neville Chamberlain. You almost feel bad for him because Chamberlain was trying to do everything he could to prevent war. He was a prime minister of Great Britain from 37 to 1940. He's the one that declared, hey, we have achieved peace in our time. But he actually was just using the policy of appeasement as Hitler was spreading out, basically saying, don't do that again. You can take what you have as long as you promise not to do that again. Didn't quite know that Nazis are not very good at keeping their promises. If you want, I actually have a video on the policy of appeasement. I'll put it in a card around here somewhere. Some historians say that he honestly thought that the Treaty of Versailles was a little bit too harsh on Germany, and maybe they had a right to do what they were doing initially. And maybe he also thought that Britain was in no shape to actually fight. Obviously, the policy did not work. Appeasement did not work. And he stepped down in 1940. Let's see, is he appeasing to the eyes? Bump! Ooh, 7.8. So he's not de Gaulle ugly, but he's not Mussolini hot. Who is next? Winston Churchill. Kind of has a cute grandpa vibe going on, but I don't know if we'll really say that he's hot. It's like if Yoda and the Emperor had a baby. I don't know where exactly to put the first line up here. Here it's the hairline. I'll just go where the hair starts. Winston Churchill really appeared on the scene after the Boer War, was really instrumental in World War I, but took a lot of heat after the Battle of Gallipoli. He was one of the earliest prominent speakers that spoke out against the menace of the Nazis and their expansion. After Chamberlain steps down, Churchill will become prime minister, and he's going to really be inspiring his people to endure what the Nazis are doing to them. He works out the Lend-Lease program, which allows him to work with FDR. They'll work even closer once the Americans join the war, and let's be nice. Oh. Okay, I'm starting to question the validity of this, because right now Winston Churchill is the most attractive. How do you talk to an angel? Moving on, who do we have next? Francisco Franco. Now, you might be wondering, Francisco Franco, he really didn't do much in World War II, and yeah, that's right. You should probably still know him because of the Spanish Civil War. Spanish Civil War, a lot of times, is seen as kind of like the dress rehearsal for World War II. In the Spanish Civil War, he overthrows the Loyalist regime with the help of Hitler and Mussolini. Oh, I gotta put these on. And this actually is instrumental in giving German and Italian troops a lot of experience that they hadn't had. Now, the Allied powers, for the most part, they sit out of this, so they don't get that, and it also kind of shows what the sides will be in the upcoming World War. And he'll become dictator of Spain and rule from 1939 all the way to 1975. So he's like the only guy that makes it out, not only alive, but continues to rule for years and years and years. And let's see what score he gets. 8.39 for this guy. Okay. Next is Hideki Tojo. We can make this head a little bit bigger. Look at me. Here we go. Go. What? Tojo. Okay. He is the wartime leader of the Japanese. That's a really high point over there. You do have the emperor, but during most of the war, he's calling the shots. He's pushing for expansion into China, as well as the alliance with Germany and with Italy. He gives the order for Pearl Harbor, but as the war starts to turn against the Japanese, especially in 1944, he's forced from power. He tries to commit suicide when occupiers are coming to get him. I gotta move that down over here. And he's stopped from that. And later on, he's tried and hung as a war criminal. And he gets a... he gets a biting score, a 6.9. I wonder if this is culturally biased. Just saying. Who's next? Joseph Stalin. Doesn't Stalin look just like Mario? Don't tell me he doesn't. And by the way, we're using like World War II era Stalin because if we used revolutionary, like a Bolshevik era young Stalin, it would just break the machine. How do you talk to an angel? So, Stalin, General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union during World War II. So yeah, he's in charge. He is the man. Non-aggression pact with Hitler, which shocks a lot of people in 1939. It shocks no one when Hitler breaks this. German troops invade. At first, they're pushing in, but they invade in June of 41, and he had all of the resources either moved eastward or just completely destroyed, so the Nazis couldn't use any of them. And eventually, he leads the Russian people to push back, and at the Tehran and Yalta conferences, he really forces FDR and Churchill to accept that the Soviet Union is going to be a major player in reconstructing the world after the war. And for this, he gets a 7.29. You ain't Stalin my heart. Making it skip a beat because it's Stalin. Well, you ain't doing that because you're ugly, okay? Next up, we have Naomi Parker. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Who is Naomi Parker? Nobody told me about Naomi Parker. Naomi Parker is Rosie the Riveter, kind of. Okay, Rosie the Riveter starts off as a propaganda character, kind of like Uncle Sam. And she's meant to represent the women that join the American workforce, particularly in the factories that are making munitions and that are making different equipment that are going to be used in World War II because the men have gone off to fight. Now, the version that you know of here, okay? That was made for the Westinghouse Company as a way to kind of like keep morale up. And it really wasn't widely known. It's only in the 1980s when it's recirculated around and taken by especially a lot of feminist groups and used for like feminist and other political causes that this becomes prevalent. Oh, she's smiling. Okay, specify, I'm guessing like right where they would meet, okay? There we go. Oh, I'm sorry, Rosie. And for a while, there's some misidentification. A Geraldine Doyle thinks that she is the one. But in 2015, it was pretty much proven that a 20-year-old Naomi Parker, as seen here, was the model for Rosie the Riveter. And let's see what she gets. She's a nice looking girl. What does she get? Ooh, 808. Okay, not too bad. All right, so we have 2 left. Before I get to them, I just wanted to give a little plug to myself and my new shirt. It's my Teddy Roosevelt, Speak Softly and Carry a Big Stick. Teddy Roosevelt mashed up with Negan from The Walking Dead. If you want this shirt or the original Mr. Betts Class shirt, you can check out my Redbubble store, link down in the description. Also, while I'm here, I wanted to plug my Patreon. Your support really allows me to step up the production value of this channel, whether it's with new mics, new costumes, new equipment. And if you have a couple of bucks a month to spare and you really like the channel, maybe consider supporting it. I'll have the link in the description as well as on the end card. Let's go to our final 2. Number 2 is FDR. And I've taken an older FDR picture because honestly, I could have taken a lot from when he was president. Only a president elected 4 times. Also, have you seen young FDR? Dude totally looks like Ryan Gosling. So FDR first elected president of the United States in 1932 during the Great Depression. He's going to be elected 3 more times. They're going to have to pass a constitutional amendment so that never happens again. This is all while he's worsening polio. In fact, he spends most of his time in a wheelchair, a fact that is hidden from the general public. He wanted to get involved in the war effort, why he works out the Lend-Lease deal with Churchill. He comes around to see the kind of menace that the Nazis represent. He'll also cut off oil and metal exports to Japan, which many say kind of forced the hand of Japan into war. Now, after Pearl Harbor, we do get involved with the war, and the US is instrumental in winning the fight against the Nazis. It's not all roses for Roosevelt. You also have the Executive Order 9066, which is basically setting up the Japanese internment camps. He would be the 3rd, along with Churchill and Stalin, at Tehran and at Yalta, and they're kind of figuring out how this post-World War world is going to look. But what does he get in this ripe old age? Ooh, 8.3, not bad, 8.3. He's no Churchill. Finally, let's go to the last figure that you have to know. I'm sure you know who this figure is. Adolf Hitler. Ugh. Okay, no matter what happens, Hitler can't be the hottest one. This cannot happen. I don't even like making his face bigger. Leader of the Nazi Party, he's first appointed German Chancellor in 1933. He and his Nazis, they will gain more power, especially when President von Hindenburg dies and he becomes the Führer and Reich Chancellor of Germany. He expands, first taking land that he claims is rightfully belonging to Germany and that was stolen from them, and wants to be a part of them, and then continues to expand, eventually taking over Poland, which prompts England and France to declare war, and is by many seen as really the official start of World War II. The Nazi regime targets all political opponents and dissenters, as well as, of course, the Jews and communists, homosexuals, any other undesirables. They are sent to concentration camps. After the US gets involved following Pearl Harbor and the Soviets start pushing back in the East, you have victories at like D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge. It's seen that Germany is falling. As the Allied forces take Berlin in 1945, Hitler commits suicide, doing us all a giant favor. Let's see how much he scores, please. Oh, okay. I wish it was a 0. It's a 7.66. Let's see, he has poor horizontal symmetry. Of course he does. His ears are too long for his nose. Of course they are. The inocular distance is too small for his eyes. I could have told you that. And the ratio of mouth width to nose is nearly ideal. I think it's just the mustache that's throwing everything off. So there you go, the 10 World War II figures that you're gonna need to know for your test, especially who is the hottest one. Amazingly enough, it's Winston Churchill. There's something deeply flawed with this software. If you think I left anybody off the list, why don't you let me know in the comments or use the software itself. Tell me what you got. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do more. Be safe. I'll see you next time.